Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Weeb from Sportsnet. Together, we are Kenny and Renny, and this is a episode of Kenny. Sorry. Hey, so I fell into an old routine there. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Weeb from the Winnipeg Free Press. I didn't even need to see him give me a dirty look to pick up on that. Together, we're Kenny and Renny. And this is a version of Kenny and Renny After Dark. I guess my game is a little off tonight, just like the Winnipeg Jets penalty kill game is off. One of those things, we take a look at this, a 5-2 victory for the Vegas Golden Knights. And it's one of these ones. I was on CJOB before the show and talking on that show about the Winnipeg Jets and their 5-on-5 game. Kind of seems to be about where you would want it to be, right? Like, I think the one thing I think about the Jets, and the one reason I think that fans for the most part seem to be a little chill about how things have been going with the Winnipeg Jets as of lately. After all, they've lost 3 straight games. One reason they're chill is before this, they came away with a point in the previous 2 games. But another thing is, like, at 5-on-5, the Winnipeg Jets are looking like they can hang with pretty much anyone in the NHL. And if you're building a foundation of a competitive game, that's the foundation you want to build on. The idea that when all things are equal, when we've got all 5 of our guys out there, you've got all 5 of your guys, and we can run our lines up and down the lineup. If we can be better than you 5-on-5, that's, I think, a very good indicator that you're going to be a good team, a competitive team going down the stretch. The Winnipeg Jets, though, are now like officially losing points because of their special teams. Tonight, it's the PK. We'll talk about the power play because I saw some things there that we talked about the last game that I thought would be a little bit of a turnaround. They score a goal here tonight. There's a very obvious reason to me that they do, and it's adding an element to the power play that we weren't seeing last game, but building on the success of what I thought we were starting to see from the power play last game. But I don't know. I take a look at this game, and the Winnipeg Jets had all kinds of momentum and then ran into a brick wall after Mason Appleton takes that 4-minute high-sticking penalty. Instantaneously, the momentum is turned around in the Vegas Golden Knights' favor, and I don't really think that the Jets ever were seriously getting it back, although at one point when they closed the gap to just 1 goal, they were pressing, and then all of a sudden it's in the back of their net going the other way. I want to talk at some point in this show about the Jets' aggression. I think it's with their strength, and I think it's also their Achilles heel, the style of play where when they are at their best, and they are aggressive, they're taking the puck away from the team. The other team is basically getting it and being forced to turn it over almost instantaneously. It's a beautiful thing to watch when you see it, and it's what we saw from the Winnipeg Jets for the vast majority of the beginning of last season. But, I mean, you play aggressive. It means if a team can get it behind your front lines, the front lines of that aggression, there's soft spots back there. And I'm wondering if the mistakes that we're seeing from the Winnipeg Jets at this stage have a lot to do with that, a lot to do with teams kind of figuring that if they can just get past that initial vanguard, that initial, spear that the Jets are thrusting right down the middle. I just think that Jets are in a position where their aggression can sometimes be turned against them. I thought the Vegas Golden Knights did that extremely well tonight. We can get into goaltending as we go on here. It's another Logan Thompson game. I didn't think that he was spectacular. I don't think this was a game that was decided by either of the 2 goaltenders. I thought it was fairly pedestrian by both teams, although we'll have an example of the keg save of the game, which you should all share with us down the stretch here. But anyways, that's my take on the whole thing. We got a lot more to talk about, though, and my favorite person to break that all down with is the guy with the best music in the business. Here comes Kenny, everybody. Ken, I'm pretty glad it's 12:15 in the morning right now. I'm guessing because they work extremely hard every single day to make people in this city look like $1 million. Frankie and the boys are probably asleep right now and don't have to take a look at the way that we're dressed in this moment. We are very un-Vittorio Rossi like.
So I still got a collared shirt on. Come on, buddy. I got a collared shirt on.
I mean, it looks like you're wearing a tablecloth there, Ken. What's going on with checkered pattern?
Hey, where do I work, buddy? Hey, where do I work? Where do I work?
My filter is not working properly. Anyway, you know what to do though. Don't take what we look like. Take our word for it on this one. Head on down to Corden Avenue, see Frankie and the boys over at Vittorio Rossi. Tell them Kenny and Renny sent you, and they will take care of you like no one else in this city can. Great guys down there. Ken, your takeaway from the game.
Well, this just in, Vegas is pretty good. And you touched on it. Yeah, I mean, the Jets 5-on-5, they had a lot to like, Sean. Even the fancy stats like what they did. 13-5 in high danger chances for. Expected goals 257 to 138, but the expected goals, that doesn't matter. Expected goals, I prefer the real goals, as I like to say. Yeah. But yes. I mean, yes, they're part of the equation for sure. But I mean, the Jets played fine, except they, took a costly penalty. I mean, it's lots of debate. Is it a bad penalty? It's the guy lost control of his stick. It's an accidental high stick that ends up being incredibly costly. The sequence is classic, right? I mean, Adam Lowry has a chance at one end, fires it over the net. They come back the other way. Pietrangelo, perfect low shot. And there's a rebound. Bang, bang. There you go. There's 2 power play goals. Hurts on both ends of the double minor, and the game changed completely. 13 seconds after Kyle Connor tied it up with a, dangleitis backhand. I mean, Jets got a bit loose in the rest of the second period, but I mean, overall, this is another classic. Like this people hate to talk about it, and a lot has changed, but like this is exactly how the conference final went, Sean. The Jets had to work so hard to get tied. Penalty 13 seconds later, bang, first power play goal is in, bang, second power play goal is in. And, it wasn't quite curtains at that point, but it's just another great example of how well a team, like you have to almost play a perfect game against Vegas, Sean, in order to beat them. And, today was another example of that for the Jets. I mean, you're going to go to the tape and find a lot of good, but at the end of the day, I mean, Vegas has sort of had the Jets' number. With the exception of game one of the first round series last year. That's 6 games in a row. Many of them look the same. I mean, you have to play an almost perfect game against them, and the Jets made a couple of mistakes, and then they're looking at their 5-game point streak goes up in smoke. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, we're not going to be spending an hour saying the Jets are horrendous. They're not. I mean, they did a lot of things that were solid. I mean, but they lost to a better team. I mean, that's just the way that she goes. I mean, that's where things are at. I think that the Jets, it's unfortunate for Appleton, Sean, because in the game, Appleton was excellent in the first 2 periods, for the majority of the first 2 periods, and even after he took the double minor, he still drew 2 minor penalties. Right. So
he earned them back.
It would have been easy for Appleton to be, slinking his shoulders and being sour about what happened. But what did he do? He went out there, worked his ass off, and drew a couple of penalties. I mean, to the point where he got a promotion to the top line when Scott Arniel was trying to shake things up. So, that's how you have to respond. I mean, I know some folks are saying, oh, well, Appleton should have been benched. Well, the problem with that is that Lowry line was the Jets' best line. So I don't think that it's a lack of accountability if a player is not benched. I mean, it was an unfortunate turn of events for Appleton. I mean, he wasn't trying to high stick Alec Martinez. It's one of those situations where he was in a chase position and he tried to lift the stick and the stick rode up and caught him, and there you go. It's a double minor. So The issue for the Jets right now is that they're not getting enough from their top 6. So some changes are going to have to be made. So, we'll dig into that a little bit more here as we go. But I mean, the Jets worked hard, did a lot of good things, but it wasn't quite enough today. And that's like Vegas is 10-1 for a reason. So, yeah, I mean, it's just the way she goes.
Let's dive into the penalty kill. I'm going to give my theory on what I think is going wrong here. You can dig into yours. So at the beginning, Ken, when before you jumped on, I was talking about the idea of the aggression of the Winnipeg Jets, and that when it's working, it really works. The problem is when it breaks down, I think that it can be turned against them.
Sure.
And I do wonder how much of last season was the Winnipeg Jets, because what they looked like at the beginning of the year last year was they just had this kind of game where they were just on the puck, and the opposition team was just turning around, giving it back to him, The whole mantra at the beginning of the season was that at the beginning of the last season in training camp was, if we don't have the puck, let's go get it back, right? And that was something they really focused on doing in the neutral zone, and they upped the ante on that this year, and that they were going to take and carry that further down into the opposition zone to try and stop them before they ever got out of their zone. And really kind of shut things down, and at the very least try and catch teams in their own zone. So they're flipping pucks to center ice. I've said this before. If you ever see a team that is consistently flipping pucks to center ice, they're basically just trying to relieve the pressure. They're saying, we have no play. You can have the puck back. We just need a little bit of time before you come back at us. So I'm going to flip it in the air. That's the time we're going to take, and you guys will get, come back with it. In a possession game, that means you're losing, right? And so the Winnipeg Jets do that to teams a lot. There were good chunks of this game where they were doing that to the Vegas Golden Knights. But I take a look at the first goal that the Vegas Golden Knights scored, and this is an example of them trying to stop them before they even reach the red line. And Vegas finds a passing lane in there and sneaks it in, and then all of a sudden it's just out of nowhere, this sneaky little 3-on-2 with those. I thought that was kind of a three-headed dragon play. That was maybe a little bit of a snake charmer goal there. Crossing lanes, moving over, finding the open guy. Suddenly it's in the back of the net. It's really nice, but the only reason that happens is because the Jets are trying to deny them even getting across the red line, never mind getting into the zone. So if the Jets are a little bit more conservative, probably what's happening in that situation is Vegas is holding on to the puck, bringing it into the zone, working the boards, trying to grind down there. What the Jets are trying to do is they're trying to snuff it out before it even starts. And I get that. And when it works, it looks really good. When it doesn't, it turns into a goal like the first goal. I think that their penalty kill is the same thing. If you notice, the Jets' penalty kill leaves opposition teams scrambling for a good chunk of the kill. Like they're just basically grabbing the puck and moving it along, and not in a nice fancy way. They're ringing it around the boards. They're picking the puck off the boards. They're trying to get it to an open guy who's got some time with it, and there's just not a lot of time. So it looks to me like the Jets' penalty kill looks really, really good for the most part until it doesn't, right? Because if you're being so aggressive, it means you don't have a tight box. And if you can sneak that puck in there, then all of a sudden you should be able to find a guy with all kinds of time. And so I really do wonder, and I'd asked Rick Bowness about this last season, the idea of the Jets' aggression, but the balance that you're trying to strike, because you just can't go all out offensive at all points, all out trying to snuff teams down. There's got to be a balance there. Now, Vegas, we saw them conversely tonight, were extremely, extremely aggressive on the penalty kill, right? But what they seem to do is they stretch the Jets out onto the boards where the Jets usually like to have the puck. And let's be honest, they probably get too comfortable having the puck on the periphery, on the outside perimeter and passing it around, but they like to move it around like that. Vegas wouldn't even give them that tonight. So it was hard for the Jets to set up because they were being aggressive, but it almost looked to me, Ken, like they would look and see that the Jets weren't going to the front of the net, so they could go out to the boards, right? Because they had a commitment to know that they thought that they could beat the Jets back to the front of the net if they tried to go there. I just think with the Jets, sometimes what they're doing is it's just an all-out aggression thing, both in their regular play and on the penalty kill. And it looks good. It looks good. It looks good. It gets them the puck. It gets them on the penalty kill to turn over pucks and send it down the ice. It gets them at 5-on-5 the ability to turn over the puck and get it back and possess it for longer, which is why I think their 5-on-5 metrics are so good. But when it breaks down, it leads to goals because you're caught in the wrong spot. The other team has the momentum. You don't have your guys back. And I'm starting to wonder if this is just the balance that they're trying to strike right now, because I see the Jets as a very 50-50 team, right? They're either, like they're giving themselves a chance to win every game, but they're also not getting that far ahead of teams that those games that they're giving themselves a chance to win. Another way of saying it is they're also giving themselves a chance to lose, right, with this system. So I'm wondering if there needs to be a tweak happen here with the Winnipeg Jets, that they can find a way to try and be aggressive to turn over the puck, but do so in a manner where they're not leaving themselves as open to the opportunities that come when either that system breaks down or when the other team finds a way to beat that system. Because to me, people had said it in the chat room. We've been talking about it all year. It seems like the Jets all of a sudden give up an opportunity and it's in the back of the net. People were saying that. And I think that they think that that's, sometimes they blame it on goaltending or whatever. But I think what it is that when the Jets system is broken, it really breaks. It creates really great opportunities. And that's why we find that this Jets team is mostly in charge of games. They outshot Vegas tonight. Like I said, they had large swaths of the game where they were just forcing them to turn over the puck. We see this Jets team 10 games into it. They usually look like the better team on the ice, but they're basically just above a 500 team right now. And that, to me, tells you a little bit something about the risk and reward of this system. Right now, the reward is not getting them very much more, if anything more, than what the risk is taking away from them.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime a team is aggressive, there are going to be moments where they have some issues. On that goal by Carlson, I actually thought it was more of a spacing issue than an issue with the system itself. I don't mind the Jets being aggressive there. I mean, the spacing for Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello was just a little bit wider. Josh was right up against the boards pretty much, and DeMello, was kind of playing the middle, but that allowed Dorofeev to kind of slip through the hole, through the seam, and pick up speed through the neutral zone and into the entry. And then he just makes a great play. I mean, some people are saying, "Oh, well, DeMello played that poorly." Well, no. I mean, it was a beautiful backhand pass between the guy's skates. I mean, he's trying to, would it be perfect for Dylan DeMello to be able to close the 5-hole or whatever there? Sure, but I mean, in slow motion, oh, well, what is he doing? Well, in real time, that's a tough play to make. It just was a brilliantly executed play, pass through the 5-hole, and Carlson rips it home. I mean, on the penalty kill, Sean, I mean, you're right. I mean, there've been times. I mean, Scott Arniel runs the penalty kill, and he has for a long time, and he ran the penalty kill when the Jets were excellent on the penalty kill last year. So the fact that they're down near the bottom of the NHL will probably be driving him nuts. So it just, sometimes things go through ruts, and right now and also too, Sean, I mean, 2 bad line changes in the long change in the second period. I mean, those were, in the Marchessault goal, all 4 guys left the ice, and Logan Thompson, with a 3-zone exit pass to Mark Stone, and there goes Marchessault, and it's in the back of the net. I mean, no system calls for 4 guys to go off at once. So I don't see that as a systemic issue there. I definitely do see what you're seeing. There's a lot of times the Jets have been too overly aggressive and it's ended up in the back of their net for sure. But to me, I just didn't think that, I mean, both of those goals, and the second one is just a perfect play. Pietrangelo fire. It's a pass off the pad basically. So, I mean, both are rush goals in this situation. But I agree with you in general. A lot of the goals that the Jets are allowing, the Sean Monahan goal is a great example of what you're talking about. An over pursuit. The guys left alone in front of the net. It was a clear breakdown because they were overly aggressive. So I definitely agree that the Jets are doing that a lot, and it's led to a lot of the power play goals against. I just didn't think that tonight was one of them.
I'll just say this, like this will highlight further the examples of what I'm talking about on the PK. How often do the Winnipeg Jets get breakaways shorthanded? I mean, it happens all the time. And one of the reasons it happens all the time is because the way the Winnipeg Jets are doing it, almost every penalty kill in the league just allows, especially if you're playing a team with like two defensemen at the top of, if you're playing a two defenseman system, most teams will just allow them to pass it back and forth from D to D. They won't challenge that pass. They'll set up and try and shut down the shooting lane. The Jets are one of the few teams in the league that will try to deny that pass, and in doing so, turn over the puck and maybe get a breakaway going down the other way. They're very good at it, right? But what happens is if you've got a guy who's up near the blue line trying to turn a puck over, that means that there are for sure only three guys back. And if you miss that pass and catch him going the wrong way, it's essentially a 5-on-3 in that situation there. And so this is what I'm talking about, the risk and reward thing. I think the Winnipeg Jets, the reward that they get for playing this style is one of the reasons they're one of the best 5-on-5 teams in the league, is because the other team just feels smothered by them and has no choice but to give the puck back. So the Jets get it back and their possession metrics and all those things go through the roof. Same thing on the penalty kill. It creates these opportunities where your penalty kill is dangerous to the point that it could score on the other team. But when it breaks down, or if someone's a little off in that system, it ends up going into the back of your net. That's the only thing I can think about why we're seeing what we're seeing right now, where the penalty kill is not working. Because in the moments when they're not getting scored on, the penalty kill usually looks really, really good. It usually has the opposing power play on the run until there's that one move to the inside, and then all of a sudden it's trouble. So again, aggression all over the ice, there's a risk to it. And right now, I just think the balance between the risk of what the Jets are trying to do and the reward that comes from it versus the risk right now, I think is one of the reasons we're seeing that they're near a 500 team, because the balance is not heavily tilted in the favor of getting rewarded by this system. The risks are costing them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disputing that. I just, like I said, I mean, we've talked about this for a long time. I mean, 5 previous games, they had points, and yes, there were blown leads there, but I mean, they were related more to special teams issues than, like, I think at 5-on-5, the aggressiveness is working. I mean, today was one example when it didn't, but I mean, for the most part, I wouldn't change the system, even though, yes, I agree, the Jets are a 500 team right now, but I think if the way they're playing is sustainable, if they can clean up some of the issues. And I don't think the issues are only because of the aggression, even though, yes, I mean, it's definitely been a part of it. But I just think their special teams are really crushing them. And even tonight in a game where they get a power play goal, I mean, it's just total simplification. I mean, that's not a play that Kyle Connor makes a whole lot of times. It's through traffic and it happens to go off a stick and then it goes off a glove of somebody. I mean, but the garbage greasy goal is a good way to get out of the power play woes, right? I mean, it had been forever since they got one. They needed one. They got to the net, but I mean, it wasn't it was kind of more of a fortuitous bounce than a beautiful play. Anyway, I'm going off track.
Disagree. I completely disagree. And I want to go there, but first I want you to give Sweet Lou a shout out.
Yeah, for folks who are in the realty business, if you're looking to buy or if you're looking to sell, you can contact Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU@LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including this podcast.
No doubt. Hey, I also want to give the Kenny and Renny OGs a shout out and head straight to the Got You Covered play of the game. Now, there was one that you could go to, but I think it actually falls more into the keg save of the game category, so I'm going to stay away from that one. But just when Nate Schmidt turns the puck over and it's a breakaway for who going the other way? Was it Carlson?
It's
Carlson. Yeah.
Carlson. Yeah.
it's a back check that in the end Nate Schmidt himself gets back and affects gets his stick gives a little poke to the stick of Karlsson's, and then he loses the handle. There's one reason though that he's able to do that. It's because Vlad Nemesnikov is skating in and back checking as well, and he dives and lays his stick out in a position, and it may seem simple and it may look like, well, he never actually touched his stick and knocked the puck off his stick, but what he did do is he made it so that Karlsson could not move in that direction. He can't move the puck because that stick is going to block it off and knock. So he actually has to shy away from it, and it forces him into a position where Nate Schmidt can actually catch him. Like typically, if Nemesnikov had not been there, this would not have been a situation where Karlsson would have been caught by Schmidt. So it's one of these tiny little subtleties that like if you're not picking up on it, it just looks like Nemesnikov is a guy skating back and doesn't really get there. It's not that. This is two guys playing from behind the guy on the breakaway who combine to pull off a play that one of each of them, had the other not been there, wouldn't have been able to pull off. And I don't know that he would have scored in that situation, but William Karlsson's a pretty good player, had a pretty good night. And I know the Jets didn't end up coming back and winning the game, but at that point of the game, that would have been a real dagger for the Winnipeg Jets. So for me, that's where I go with the Johnson Group. Got you covered play of the game. You okay with that one, Ken?
No, I love it. Absolutely. I mean, we were texting about it for sure, and I think it's a great call. And yeah, I mean, without Nemesnikov's hustle, like Schmidt is the guy who ends up getting the stick lift. But you're right. I mean, Nemesnikov prevented his ability to go and make a forehand deke, right? Because his stick was coming on that side with the dive. So,
which is where I think he would have gone.
Oh, absolutely.
It looked like it was forehand deke. And the other part about that too is even if Schmidt isn't there, preventing the forehand deke allows Connor Hellebuck to focus and not have to worry about that play, right? So
it's totally blocker side shot if he can get there, right? A little quick maneuver, and like that's the hole right between the blocker and the stick, and it's an absolute it's a money shot for left-handers. So of which neither one of you or I have much success on, because we don't shoot left-handed. That's the only reason.
Well, there's a lot we don't have success on, but let's hang it on that reason. Let's do that. Hey, do you run a small business in Canada? Look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. Okay, I wanted to jump back into the power play.
And sorry, one thing I want to clarify. One thing, I love the idea behind that play. I just don't think that that's something where you're going to say, if Kyle Connor looks for that every time, it's going to make the Jets power play successful. I think it was a sneak attack, which I liked. I just thought that it was more. I like everything about it. Perfetti leaves his stick there for a redirection, and Iafallo still has to go to the net, and it bounces off of his hand, which is why I thought it was a lucky bounce. I agree that if Kyle is going to look for that, it will open up his one-timer a little bit more, because right now opponents weren't really respecting the pass because the Jets haven't shown that they can convert with a high slot tip, for lack of a better term. I just thought that it was a bit of a lucky bounce in time. I like the idea behind it with Kyle. And I think that now that Cole Perfetti started in the net front job, now I like the fact that they have flip-flopped Iafallo and Perfetti, and I think that that's the kind of play that can be available. And we saw Cole Perfetti in the first period had a shot in the slot available, and he tried to kind of backdoor it, which kind of was overpassing. But anyways, I just thought it was more of a lucky bounce at the time. But yeah, it was definitely a smart play.
I no doubt think it's a lucky bounce, and I love that it was. I think a lot of the goals that are scored on power plays in the end, or a lot of goals in this league are lucky bounces, for the simple fact that you go to the front of the net and you create chaos. So before that, one of the things that I liked about the Jets the last game is I thought they started getting a lot more movement on that umbrella style play that they were doing on that first power play. Yeah. And so, you're thinking of
just give me a sec.
Scheifele on the boards, up top, over to Morrissey. Morrissey throws it over to Kyle Connor. And like I said, last game, there was a couple shots that Kyle Connor got out of that. He had a couple here tonight as well. Hey, if he goes bar down, right where Grandma keeps the cookies on the shorthand side, we're all talking about how this power play is waking up. That didn't happen. Didn't happen again tonight. But I think the scenario by which finally moving Cole Perfetti in front of the net and giving two players that space there, it allows him to not just throw the puck on net. He's taking it and he's throwing it to where there's chaos. And that's an option, right? Kyle Connor can either be a surgeon and he can take the puck and he can use his scalpel and just put it in the perfect spot because he's capable of doing that. But if it's not working for him, he's got the other option to just kind of throw it and play plinko. And that works every once in a while. Now, what the Jets were doing before that was they were just playing this purely perimeter game where Cole Perfetti was behind the net and they were taking the puck and Kyle Connor would get it. He'd move it up to Josh Morrissey over to Mark Scheifele down to Perfetti, who would get it, skate behind the net and try and pass it out for a shot to Kyle Connor all over again. And all they're doing is just throwing it around the wheel over and over and over again. We know that the problem for years with this Winnipeg Jets power play, when it is not doing well, is that they love to overpass the puck. They love to handle it and keep it on the perimeter. And it looks great. Hey, you kept the puck in the other team's zone for a full 2 minutes. But if you're never putting it to the net, you're never really going to get that opportunity to do it. So I thought what I thought was finally what turned this for the Jets is Cole Perfetti not hanging out behind the net and getting to the front of the net where he was an option. And the option he tips, it goes off of IFL for sure, Ken. It's lucky. It's lucky that it's a fortuitous bounce that it goes in the net, but you're not getting fortuitous bounces if there's no one in front of the net for it to bounce off of. And so I just think that now if the Jets can start getting into that mindset where they're taking, now if Cole Perfetti starts going there and he starts trying to tip that pass, the defenseman who's trying to shut down the shooting lane for Kyle Connor has to respect that. He has to move over, and it's going to clear up a more clear shot for Kyle Connor to take, and maybe you can get back to him being a surgeon and putting it in the top there. I thought that's exactly what the Jets power play needed. I loved that they did that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And thanks to Darren for the reminder about the poppies. Sean and I usually have ours on our suit jackets and in our computer bags, so apologize for not having those out right away. I mean, the Jets power play needs to get something going, and they did. So, and that's an important step for them. It can help, with the predictability. Right now, they're too predictable. So, I think it's important that they establish that kind of a play, that high slot tip, which is really good. And I think that's where an area where Cole Perfetti can really, flourish in, which I like. So I say I like the flip flop between Iafallo and Perfetti, moving Cole into the higher slot bumper position. So I like him there because he's smart and creative and has vision, all of those things. So I still need the Jets to be a little bit more dangerous when it comes to Scheifele and Kyle Connor. I think that I'd also like to see Mark get involved with the one-timer once in a while too on that left wing side, right? So I think that would be something where, like, when the Jets get a little bit flat, Mark is just a little bit too stick handling, looking for seams from the circle. So I want Mark to be able to bang a couple one. He's got a really good shot. So if him and Josh can get into a situation where one or the other can be looking for their shot a little bit more, I think that helps matters a little bit too. So that'll be something that I will look for. The Jets need more motion. Like we talk about Tampa, like Braden Point, you have all kinds of Kucherov, all those guys are in constant motion. And that's when the Jets are at their best, when they're moving. When they get too flat, when they're stick handling and dusting it like that, it just doesn't flow for them. And yes, good for them to break the drought. I mean, both special teams are near the bottom of the NHL, Sean. I mean, for a team that has been so good at 5-on-5, you said it best. The power play is costing them points and losing them games, and they can't afford that right now. Because they're going to need to get their guys rolling. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, the third line playing very well, but they need their top end guys to get on a roll. Kyle Connor scored an absolute beauty today, no doubt, and he gets another setup. Good on him. But that's a game. It's so many block shots, Sean. I mean, the sacrifice being done by the Vegas Golden Knights right now, we laugh because, hey, we saw it. It even happened to Colorado, Sean. I mean, coming off their Stanley Cup, they had the legit Stanley Cup flu. They were out of a playoff spot for a long, long time. Yes, injuries were a factor, but Vegas has said Stanley Cup hangover, get out of here. 22 blocks, only 7 for the Jets. Out hit the Jets 28-22. I mean, that is a very discretionary stat, but block shots is not. It's an impressive deal. Oh, good. Positive Mall is back. I was a little bit nervous. I thought I only put him in a timeout. Positive Mall, if you want to see the people texting me those things, I don't make things up. So these are things that get sent to me. I get sent things all the time. I'm not, so like you're gonna have to just trust me on this one. So.
Speaking of conversations and texts that happen behind the scenes there, it's funny. Keegan Colasar is a guy that I think I've said on this show, know from years ago before he made the NHL. We worked out at the same gym. Really, really great kid, and was chatting with him and said something about the idea of them being able to. Avoid the Stanley Cup hangover. Well, holy smokes, have they ever done that? What a phenomenal job they've done of that. Ken, do you have any candidates for the wake up of the game? Pristine roofing wake up of the game. I mean, I think without anything, and this is very much a hindsight.
Oh, sorry, I do have it. Yeah, no, it's the line changes. I think there'd be temptation to go for the penalty for Appleton. I mean. And it could be one, but like I said, that to me was more accidental, but you got to have control of your stick there. I would just say that the 2 line changes on the power play goals for Vegas would be, if that happens to you once in a game, it's too often. If it happens twice, it's kind of unacceptable, right? Is it not? I mean, yeah, I understand it's a long change and everything else, but anyways, it's, yeah, those would be the 2 candidates. I mean, I'll let you cast the deciding vote.
Well, I don't think I'll throw either in there. I think I'll just go with the idea that their penalty kill needs to wake up. Right?
There you go. Perfect.
Like I said, this is a game that you're losing because of special teams, and the Jets are losing points in 3 straight games now because of special teams. There's no doubt about it. So I have no problem with giving the wake up of the game to the Jets penalty kill, which is just being beat up on so far right now. Hey, listen, we probably shouldn't actually do this, but it's 12:47 a.m. So don't actually give North End Rick the wake-up call. But listen, we know what's happening here. It's that kind of season. There's snow on the ground already, which, oh my goodness, Ken, we're in for such a long winter it's looking like here. But I already noticed there's lots of dripping coming off the roof already, and I've had to deal with ice and all this kind of stuff. And so if you're having situations like that with your home, siding issues, anything to do with exteriors, you know what to do. Give Pristine Roofing and Siding a try. Have them come down. The best way to do that is to have North End Rick, who 2-8 is what he picked for them to go to at the beginning of it. We're 10 games in. They clearly did a lot better than that. They've got 7 more points than he expected them to have. So, like I said, North End Rick, not exactly the guy you want running your hockey pool for you, but he is the guy you want coming in and checking your house to see what needs to be done to get it all battened down for these Manitoba and Winnipeg winters. If you don't want to give Rick a call, give Pristine Roofing a call, 1-204-237-7663, and tell them that Kenny and Renny sent you. Let's get into this stuff here, because I'm actually a little excited about the people who won the Lamplighter and the keg save of the game. So, Kenny, what's your keg save of the game?
Oh, I'm going to go with the Logan Thompson. It's not a highlight reel save, but I thought the one-timer that Appleton had was a sneak attack play that when you have a goalie like Thompson who can be very athletic and overplay the odd shot, I thought his ability to square up on that one-timer on that really good shift by Lowry, Nino Niederreiter, and Appleton, that was the one for me that kind of stood out. I know he had another really good save in the second period, but that's the one I'm going to go with. Oh, sorry, I've totally changed my. I'm good. I left you the apple that never mind. Sorry. Yes.
No, you threw the beach ball up in the air.
That's the runner-up. Sorry, Logan Thompson, runner-up. It's going over to you.
So it
exactly. You're trying to Tikona Pauly. Here we go.
It's more of a got you covered play of the game, but yeah, Tikona Pauly's got IFL. It probably would have rolled in if he wouldn't have got there. This is one of those examples of the Jets, it was said on the broadcast a couple times throughout that game, they clearly weren't giving up, right? Like that's the one thing. Yeah. If you're a Jets fan and you're watching them play down the stretch here, you're not looking at them and being like, where's the effort from these guys? The effort is there consistently. Nino Niederreiter, I mean, this guy just never, ever stops. Alex Iafallo is right there as well. So him stopping that and sweeping that out of the crease, because there was a player right there ready to pounce on it and put it in. That was going to end up in the net if Alex Iafallo isn't there. So I give him the keg save of the game. All of you should be sharing with us your keg save of the game, because if you do, you're automatically entered to win one of the 82 $50 gift certificates to the keg that the keg and all 3 locations of the keg in the city have offered up to Kenny and Renny listeners and viewers and podcast listeners and everyone this year. Save with us your keg save of the game. You're automatically entered to win that $50 gift certificate. And I got to say, it almost pains me, Ken, to say who the winner was this week.
Don't be like that. Don't
retracting it. I don't know. I may announce him as the winner, and when he comes to collect it, I may just say, I'm not going to give it to you. But T Will won the keg save of the game.
Well, good for T Will.
And it's funny because he was trashing me in my takes. He was trashing my takes on Twitter today. And then the numbers are the numbers. The wheel spins and it lands somewhere. I don't know why the gods would do this, but T Will won the $50 keg gift certificate. So congratulations, I guess, to T Will. Whatever, you know what to do. Get a hold of me. Since he has my number, he'll probably text me and rub it in.
He should
text me so I can learn you. Hey, I know your real name. I should expose it to everyone on the show right now. I'm not going to, because I know you want it hidden. But T Will, you are the winner of the keg save of the game contest. Congratulations. Get a hold of me and I will make sure you get your $50 gift certificate to the keg. Ken, let's move on and do the Lamplighter.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of significance to the game, it's the Barbashev power play goal. But, I would say that it just for the fact that Jets power play has been in such a deep rut, I'm going to give it on the play by Kyle Connor for the redirect by Cole Perfetti and going off the glove of Iafallo. I mean, obviously, filthy backhand special toe drag by Kyle Connor. That's the prettiest, but in terms of what was necessary for the Jets to get out of this serious funk, I would say the Lamplighter's got to go to Iafallo here. What do you think?
I'm not gonna argue with that. Although I think that first goal, the first goal, of the
totally
game,
fair. Yeah.
That is a really, really slick, subtle, shifting. As someone was saying earlier on that they didn't think Josh Morrissey played that very well. If Josh Morrissey doesn't move out and handle the puck carrier, he's going to have a direct line to the net, very similar to what we saw from David Gustafsson last game, who went uncovered and ended up scoring from that spot. He's going exactly where he has to go. That's his spot to cover. It's the late guy doesn't get back, and I think it's Nick Ehlers, although I'm not sure that it should have been. I need to go back and look at that play and see how it developed all the way down the ice. At one point, the high guy of the Jets gets confused, and because I don't think they're expecting at that point, like I said, those 3 players are up trying to shut off the pass and turn the puck over at the red line. Once it gets behind them, I'm not sure they know who the high guy is, because they've built a 3-man wall to try and shut it down. So once the puck gets in behind them, they're in trouble in that stage. And Nick Ehlers tries to race back, but he doesn't get there in time. That was a pretty slick goal, I thought. I think for me, that would be the Lamplighter. So, hey, I shared with you and Ken shared with you our Lamplighters. Now you know what to do. You share your Lamplighters with us. Why should you? Well, for one simple reason. If you do, you're automatically entered to win a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, brought to you by our friends at TransCanada Brewing Company. If you cannot wait for Kenny and Renny to give you your own frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, you can head on down to their tap room, TransCanada Brewing Company's tap room at 11290 Kenneson. Ken, we're going to be there tomorrow for lunch, 12:30 with Johnny Lou and Fred from TSN. It's going to be a good crew there, getting together, having a couple of maybe some blueberries, maybe some. I wonder if they have their Starfighter IPA out right now. I'm not sure. Anyways, I know they're going to have great pizzas. I know we're going to have a great time. Really looking forward to it. You should do the same. Head on down there. We should remind everybody about December 10th, the Kenny and Renny Christmas /holiday party. is going to be down there. You want your tickets? I know a lot of people have got a hold of me. We should get the Eventbrite link out so people can go there and purchase up their tickets. And now it's time to announce the winner of the Lamplighter from this show as well. So this is an interesting one because these are two guys that have hit up a lot of our shows, two guys who are always in here sharing their Lamplighters. So, I mean, I guess there's some justice in that. I'm still not okay with T-Will winning, to be honest, but I'm definitely okay with this one. The Lamplighter going to Eric Hjorleifson, who goes by the handle the iconic Eric Hjorleifson, which I think is him thumbing his nose at T-Will, to be honest. So maybe I can see him thumbing his nose at T-Will, and that will be enough for me to accept the fact that T-Will, it's leaving the taste of ash in my mouth right now. I just gotta say, but the iconic Eric Hjorleifson, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. We talk all the time. Full name, email, and I will send you your voucher for a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, brought to you by our friends at Trans-Canada Brewing Company. Congratulations to the both of you. A little more congratulations to Eric Hjorleifson, let's just say that. We should get... Oh, I wanted to ask you a quick question right off the bat. We don't have to go too deep on this. But we talked a little bit about Kupari in that last one. And I'm taking a look at the situation. He's just gone, radio silent when it comes to... offense. I know that he had one pretty decent shot, although it was from distance tonight, but I like the idea of him shooting more. I know I've said that before, but if we're taking a look at him as a fourth line center, and if we're taking a look at what happens when Velarde comes back, and this is definitely just an idea down the road because you never know who else could get hurt down the stretch, but who comes out of the lineup at this stage? Because I know that David Gustafsson was the guy who was the 13th forward. David Gustafsson was also supposed to be the fourth line center of the future for the Winnipeg Jets. And at this stage right now, Ken, I can tell you right now, if Gabe Velarde was back today and someone needed to come out of the lineup, I would be taking Rasmus Kupari out of the lineup before I'd be taking the Gus bus.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the case for that. I would just say, too, I mean, Gustafsson's off to an outstanding start. 2 goals this year. That's a great start for sure. I would just say the one thing that Kupari brings a speed element that Gustafsson I don't think has the same level of speed at. But, I mean, right now his production has been higher. So, I mean, if Rick Bowness told David Gustafsson he had to score to produce, well, right now David Gustafsson is outperforming Rasmus Kupari on that front. Having said that, Gustafsson will kill penalties for sure. Kupari is doing that also right now. He brings a little bit more speed. He's a little bit more tenacious on the forecheck. But, I mean, right now, I would say that there would be a rotation. I don't think that Gustafsson has blown Kupari out of the water. But, I mean, this is what we've talked about from the beginning. I mean, Kupari is a guy who has flashes, but he has not put it all together in terms of being a consistent offensive performer. I've liked what I've seen from Gustafsson. I mean, nobody has. I'm the conductor of the bus, so I'm not about to abandon the bus. But I would say that right now both players are still in a constant battle. In that, there would have to be a rotation before we decided one way or the other. But I mean, for folks who had been asking about a Velarde update, I mean, Mike McIntyre, my colleague, is out in Vegas, and he asked Scott Arniel about him this morning, and we were told from the beginning Velarde would be around his teammates. That's why he was on the road trip. It's not that he's 2 weeks ahead of schedule. He's not going to be skating on this road trip. I would imagine it won't be terribly long before he gets back onto the ice, but this is not a scenario where he's going to be back next week or something. I mean, he's still going to need more time. Like, he is in the 4 to 6 weeks category. So this is a decision that is on delay. But I mean, if you were asking me today, for sure. I mean, it's a real competition. It's not automatically going to be Gustafsson out because he started as the 13th forward. He talked to Mike McIntyre yesterday after practice. He said it himself. You start as the 13th forward. By the time Velarde's back, you hope you keep yourself into the lineup. So that's what he's trying to do. Like I said, Kupari today only 7:42. Gustafsson very similar, 7:36 of ice time. I mean, one guy had Kupari had the long shot from distance, but he has not got into an offensive rhythm. And we'll see if he can change that. And I mean, it's interesting. I mean, this is a guy that, and it was maybe on us for not recognize it, but I mean, this was a guy who we wondered at one point if he might be he was in line for a promotion for the top line the day that Mason Appleton didn't skate, Sean, right? So now he's gone to the point where he might not even be on the lineup as a regular, but I think it's a little bit early to turn the page on him. There have been flashes, but I mean, let's see what happens here. I think both guys can play better.
Yeah, I think
Gustafsson is playing very well right now. I just think that in terms of, I don't think, I mean, he's definitely distinguishing himself. I don't think it's it's not to me, it's still a competition for a little bit longer. It's still a small sample size. This isn't Dylan Sandberg has won the job and the other guys are also Rans. They're still, for me, fairly neck and neck when it comes to, it's still a pretty small sample. But yeah, I mean, I've liked Gustafsson has answered the challenge, and Kupari needs to show a little bit more. He has shown flashes, but I need to see more of it. But again, he's also playing 7 minutes, so he's going to need to do more so he can be a 10-plus minute player.
So I think you nailed it right there when you talked about Gus answering the challenge, because to me, this is the way I look at this. I look at this as like a very mini version of, the year that Connor Hellebuyck was given the net in 2017. Jeff Bose says Kupari will be good. He's making positional mistakes. And listen, again, this is right. Jeff Bose, we can point right to that first game against the Calgary Flames where his positional mistake is exactly what it was, allowed him to be beat to the net and ended up being the game-winning goal. So here's my take on it. I mean, he's a young player. He's not the youngest player. He's 23 years old, right? Making positional mistakes, if the puck is ending up in the back of your net and you're not scoring, you're not putting offense up, that's a problem, right? I was talking earlier about the balance between the Winnipeg Jets, their risk and reward. That's not a good balance in the NHL. If you're supposed to be out there and not get scored on and you're not scoring at all, that's a problem, right? I just look back on that 2017 situation 2018 situation between Connor Hellebuyck and Steve Mason. Hellebuyck had the net the year before in 2017, and the Jets went out, didn't think that he was good enough, went out and got Steve Mason, who was given the net at the start of the season. I can't remember if he got injured or something, Ken.
He got pulled.
But Connor Hellebuyck comes in, and that pressure is what allowed him to rise to what we've seen today. Since then, 2018 and on, you're talking about him being one of the best, if not the best goaltenders in the entire NHL. And to me, the genesis of that was the sting over the 2018 summer of your team saying, we don't think you're good enough, so we're going to go out and get a guy. And that's where that came from, right? Well, David Gustafsson is showing the best hockey that we've seen him play for some time, and it's because his coaches called him up and said, you're not safe this year. I know that we've had you up with this team for a while, but you're not safe. You haven't shown us enough that you can expect to come back and have a spot for you. So what does he do? He rises to the challenge. He's moved on. He's producing offensively. He was one of the best Winnipeg Jet players in the preseason and still was not given a spot on this team. So we're seeing a scenario by which Rasmus Kupari, as the fourth line center, was handed the job. Never mind his to lose. It wasn't his to lose. He wasn't going to lose it. He was going to be given that spot regardless of what happened, regardless of how he showed during the preseason. And now David Gustafsson was given an opportunity, and he's seizing that opportunity. To me, this is that challenge. This is the time. And this is that thing that we've talked about in the past with Rick Bowness, where if the idea is that you are going to tell everyone on this team that you need to earn your keep, that it's a privilege to be in the NHL and you have to work to stay there, I don't think it's beyond a shadow of a doubt, or I would say it is beyond a shadow of a doubt at this stage, that out of those two players, David Gustafsson has proved or risen to the challenge more than Rasmus Kupari has at this stage. So I would think it would be healthy for the Winnipeg Jets at this stage if, when Gabe Vilardi came back, if nothing changes between now and then, if he was coming back right now, I would think that Rasmus Kupari should be the player who finds himself in the press box, because David Gustafsson has earned the opportunity he's got. I don't think they want to take Morgan Barron out. And the other guy who's going to go to that line is maybe Iafallo, because the third line is working so well. Iafallo could very much drop all the way down to the fourth line, because unless you're going to start getting, fancy and trying to move Velarde to center on the second line. I don't think the Jets have a second line center right now that they can go to. So Nemesnikov becomes that guy because of that, which means Iafallo probably goes to the fourth line. Kupari shouldn't be ahead of Iafallo. There's no doubt about that. So to me, it's almost a closer competition between Barron and Kupari, and I don't think the Jets want to move Barron out of that situation. So I would think that if this choice was to be made right now, the right choice is David Gustafsson, not just because of what he's done lately, but because you need to send the message to Rasmus Kupari, but the rest of the Winnipeg Jets that you earn your keep around here. And I'm not saying Rasmus Kupari isn't capable of becoming more, but it's not incumbent upon the Jets to give him opportunities he is maybe not earning over another player to hope that he gets there. It's his job to take the time out of the lineup, show in practice that he can grind, and when he gets the opportunity, prove it's time for him to stay.
Yeah, I mean, Barron is, on the often killing with Adam Lowry lately. So, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think he's really in the competition.
I don't think his job is they need to worry about it.
Yeah, and again, no issue with what you're saying. But, I mean, as well as Gustafsson's played, he's outscoring him 2 goals to 1 assist. So, like I said, to me, it's still a competition. I mean, and Gustafsson's going to need to do this for a longer stretch of time. And he'll have time to do that. I just think that both guys have upside, and yeah, right now I would give a slight edge to Gustafsson for sure. But this is a team that's trying to play fast, and better skater is Kupari right now. So I would say that that's probably why he's had an edge. He plays with a bit more edge. He's a little bit more physical, but right now Gustafsson is outproducing him. There is no doubt about that. And like you said, healthy competition. It's only a thing when a team makes it a thing. We've talked about the concept of healthy competition, but it hasn't always been happening. So I agree. It's going to be something where there's a something to work out here, and it's good to have competition because it means that there are other, like Dominic Toninato is a guy that you could probably put in the lineup, and he wouldn't hurt you. So I mean that's good that they have legitimate options to come into the lineup if that's necessary. And, never mind a guy like Brad Lambert, who's off to a great start down with the Manitoba Moose. That's good, right? I mean,
well done, Pat Rathwell.
He's not going to be called up, I don't think, anytime soon. I think he's going to need to spend the majority of the year with the Moose, but it was incumbent upon him to come out and have a great start, and he has done that. And long term, maybe he can still be that second line center. I mean, they'll have options, whether it's Lambert, Perfetti, or whatever works out here. But certainly still some things to work out. We should say, like, nice to we saw some guys wearing the neck protection, the either neck guards or the higher kind of turtleneck built-in neck guards. So obviously we know that's in response to.
Yeah.
And I
liked TJ Oshie's take on it today, where he said, all of us can make our own choices. I made the choice to potentially save my life because of my kids. I think he'd said that had he not had kids, he wouldn't be as worried about this, but it's something he thought adding extra protection to make sure that I stay around for my kids. I like that one, but I also like the idea that he's okay with players kind of making their own choice on this situation here. Got to give a quick shout out before we do go to Cambrian Credit Union. It's not a rock solid guarantee which one of Kupari or Gustafsson would come out of the lineup, but we feel like our coverage with Cambrian Credit Union has been rock solid every single time we've had to deal with them, Ken, which is quite often because we both have our mortgages with them. My kids have unfee accounts with them. Right up and down our whole banking history. We have been with Credit Union, with Cambrian Credit Union, and so happy to have them on. The second Kenny and Renny OGs down the stretch here, and always have to point out the amazing things they do in the community, all their sponsorships and donations. It's a long list. If you start reading it now, this show would go till about 2 a.m. So we can't leave it up for that long, but let's just do that. Ken, just quickly before we do go, you were talking about changes to the top 6. Do you feel that you got everything in on that you wanted? Or do you want to? Well, say something. Give me your case.
I need the Jets. Shifley and Kyle Connor need a change on that top line, and Iafallo, nice job getting a goal on the power play. It's just not. It's not working. He's trying as hard as he can, and he's doing a lot of the digging. But they need something else up there. I don't know if it's I know we talked about this. The Jets maybe don't want to risk Niederreiter coming off that third line because the third line's been so good. But right now, I would move Niederreiter there. They need some offense, a little bit more offense. So I would say that's an idea. I would say Nikolai Ehlers, I think he was down in the 13-32 range again. I would consider moving Ehlers up there as a quick pop-up. I would move Iafallo to either the second. You could move Iafallo on the second line with Ehlers and Nemesnikov if you want. Maybe Perfetti gets a chance up there. But right now, I think they need to. I would prefer Niederreiter right now because I think that line still needs someone to do some of the digging. Right now, I see lots of effort, but Mark Scheifele hasn't been as dangerous as he was earlier on in the season. So, beer league, it's very good. I mean, I got no issue with you. Iafallo scored on the power play. It doesn't mean he has to play on the top line, beer league. So,
Kenny's responding to beer league, who says, "Shush, Iafallo's on my fantasy team. Say something smart for once, Kenny." Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's punchy at this hour.
It's punchy. It's punchy. There was a play tonight where Mark Scheifele made a pass, and he expected Alex Iafallo to be there, and he wasn't, and you could see the kind of frustration in Scheifele's body language. So I agree with you. Something there is not quite working, and I wonder, I've talked about this in the past, like the idea, I talked about this right off the start of Wheeler being gone, Gabe Vilardi coming onto that line, and the idea of he's not the same kind of player. And would Mark just embrace the player being a different kind of player, or would he kind of be like, well, it's not Blake. It's not what we used to do. It's not how we used to play. I wonder if there's a frustration level with Iafallo, and this would just be one of those situations where, like, some guys have chemistry, some guys don't. Iafallo, I think a lot of what's been happening on that top line since Iafallo got there has been driven by Alex Iafallo, but it almost just looks like they're playing on separate islands right now. Like, I thought that Mark and Kyle Connor, clearly Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, had some dangerous moments tonight where they were really playing off of each other. It didn't necessarily pay off, although Mark sets up Kyle for that goal that he scores. It just doesn't seem like, it's definitely not a tic-tac-toe scenario. It's a tic-tac, and Iafallo is going to go and try and grind it out in front of the net. I'm not sure that it's working, but I despise the idea of taking Niederreiter off that third line. We talked about this with Wheeler that one time when it wasn't working and that top line was working for the Jets. And I would say it over and over again. The Winnipeg Jets broke the top line to try and get an opportunity to try and get somebody else going. I don't like the idea of breaking a third line that is the Jets' best line. And I think even again tonight, they didn't put up the points, but they created so many momentum swings in the game. I don't like the idea of breaking up the best thing the Jets have going for them offensively right now, and as a line that is both capable of putting up points but also grinding and shutting things down. I hate the idea of breaking that apart to try and get other guys going. Sometimes I think it's incumbent upon those guys. So I would very much prefer the idea of moving Nick Ehlers up to that line, or even a Cole Perfetti. We talked about that before. I'm okay with the idea of that. If I had a vote, which I definitely do not, I would say leave that third line alone.
Yeah, I mean, my counter just is always, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but the problem is that you can't ask the third line to carry you for a long strength of time offensively, and you have offensive guys that have the ability to carry a team. Right now, they're not going. I mean, Nick's saying, well, what if you break up Scheifele and Connor momentarily? Maybe you throw Kyle Connor with Nemesnikov and Ehlers and see what happens there for a bit. That would leave Mark with,
Iafallo
with. Maybe,
I think that's the problem.
You could put Iafallo on the third line, and I don't think you lose the checking. You don't have as much physicality as Nino Niederreiter, but you'd still have that ability to check and create some offense. So I don't think there would be a ton of drop off in terms of the offense created. But I mean, then you try Nino Niederreiter and Perfetti with Scheifele. Then if you try Kyle Connor with Nemesnikov and Ehlers, but. I would just say that they just need to make a few switches, and I think that Mason Appleton's played his best with Adam Lowry, so I would expect him to go back with Adam Lowry by the time the game starts on Saturday. But We'll see what happens. I'm also curious about, we were talking about this before the show. I'm curious to see if it's a Lauren Brossoit game on Saturday against the Arizona Coyotes, or if Hellebuck wants to get back right in there and then maybe give Brossoit the Tuesday night game. But right now I'm curious. What do you think? I'm sort of. I originally thought it was clear for Hellebuck that he needed to go back in there, but I would say you could make a case for Brossoit as well.
Well, for those that didn't get the memo, the Jets were passed tonight by the Arizona Coyotes, who have played the same number of games and now have one more point than the Winnipeg Jets. So just like we all predicted 10 games into the season, the Arizona Coyotes have surpassed the Winnipeg Jets, are in top 3 in the Central Division. The Winnipeg Jets still hold down the 8th wild cards. There we go. 8th wild card spot, with Seattle is tied with them in points, but has played one more game. I don't think you want to be hanging around the likes of Nashville and Minnesota, who, as bad as their starts have been, and Minnesota feels they've been putrid, is only 2 points behind the Winnipeg Jets. You don't want to get in that situation. I'll tell you this. I was watching a little bit of the Montreal Canadiens Arizona Coyotes game after the Jets game was over. I don't look at Arizona. And hey, you know what? This could be, mark it down, show 10, a lot of you people out there. I don't think we're going to be talking about them as being a true, serious playoff contender come game 60, game 70 of the season. These are one of those times where I put my foot in my mouth in situations like this before, but I take a look at that team. They look really, really sloppy. They don't look anywhere near as organized as the Winnipeg Jets do, but Jets don't want to be hanging around there. So to your point, I think I would go with Lauren Brossoit, just because I think if that was the plan, that's what they should be doing. I wouldn't be treating this as we got to get back ahead of these guys. It's game 11 of the season. There will be plenty of time for your game to outstrip their game as the year goes on. I wouldn't be messing with the plan. I'm just thinking at this stage, it's like, if you keep changing the plan to move, Connor Hellebuck, let's just say this was supposed to be a Lauren Brossoit game, and you move it so that Connor Hellebuck is there. It's just too many instances for me of the Jets making a change that says to Lauren Brossoit, we'd rather have Connor Hellebuck in right now. I know we were going to give you the crease, but we'd rather have Connor Hellebuck in right now because it's a more important game than we thought it was going to be, and we trust him more than we trust you. At some stage, especially with the pedigree that he came in, he's the guy who's got the Stanley Cup ring that was just handed out after his trip to Vegas. I know he hasn't had the best start. Clearly, I don't think that he's been up to the standard the Winnipeg Jets need him at. But if you keep burying him below Connor Hellebuck, he's not going to get to that. And then what's the point in bringing him in at this stage? That's my take. Anyways, we got to shut this down, Ken. 1:17 in the morning. As always, we always appreciate the people who stick with us this long. Thank you so much for that. We also want to give a shout out and thank our sponsors. If you appreciate conversations happening in this space, please appreciate our sponsors who fight and help us keep these conversations going in this space for us. That's Vittorio Rossi, Sweet Lou Furlan, Cambrian Credit Union, Pristine Roofing, the Johnston Group, the Keg, and Trans-Canada Brewing Company. Going to be a good day tomorrow, Ken. Looking forward to meeting up with you. The rest of you, thank you so much for spending our time. And hey, December 10th, we'd like to spend more time with you as well, face-to-face, if that's possible. So think about coming on down to the Kenny and Renny Christmas/holiday party. We'd love to see you there. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you after. It'll be an earlier show than this one, after the game between the Arizona Coyotes and the Winnipeg Jets on Saturday. Talk to you then, everybody.